Okay, welcome everyone around the world here. Looks like the mic is hot. I've got a few people, quite a few people have logged in. Looks like G4 L4C Dick North was first in. And to all of you Hoggies worldwide, welcome. All right. Someone want to listen only on 80 meters clearly. What's a good receiver and antenna? If you're listening only, any of the HF radios these days are general coverage receivers, and you can just use any old length of wires and antenna if you're just going to listen. Wow, okay. Good vertical antenna for portable contesting. There'd be less work to assemble than my current 5 BTV. Well, all of the multiband verticals are complicated to assemble. Some come with as many as 250 parts. All right. Yes, and then the mic was hot. Okay, very good. Get rid of that. The first thing I wanted to mention here is the query that I got from last time about the charts for the CW QSO, and they are on my website. The website is dcasler.com, and if you go to that website, there's a post here on the Ask Dave 14 typical CW QSO and the charts for that. So if we go to that post on my website, you'll see here it says here are the charts I used in Ask Dave 14. This right here will give you a link to the video, and these PDF charts walk you through a typical exchange for a brief conversation in Morse code. So if you click here, you pull up the PDF file, and it starts out by walking you through what you send. This is what you hear. This is what you send. This is what you hear, what you send, what you hear, and what you send and what you hear, to finish a very simple CW QSO. So those are, I didn't have the right thing. I'll learn how to use this software at some point. Okay. Let's do this right. Okay, these are on my website at dcasler.com. Okay, so if you click through, you get the charts that show what you would send here, send here, and send, and here, and send, and here for basically a single round or a dual round QSO. So just want to let everybody know that that was up there. Let me bring my chat board up again. Greetings from Palestine. Hello. From the Netherlands and Ohio. I've been to Ohio. I was there for Dayton earlier this year. Lots of people saying hi. We've got 77 watching now. This last week, my wife and I were able to get away for Christmas, and we went down to Abiquiu, New Mexico. It's kind of an artist place there where Georgia O'Keeffe was. Gotta have my silent for lunch here. All right. And we were down in Santa Fe. We stayed in Espanola. So we left Colorado to leave the cold and the snow behind. And so what we found in Taos, not Taos, I keep saying Taos, that was last year. In Santa Fe, we found cold and snow. They had like 6 inches of snow. The city never gets snow, but it got snow while we were down there. So I guess we brought it with us. But we're back safe and sound and ready for the new year and all the great things that'll come up. The video that I put up this past week was about this Morse code key right here. Had quite a few comments on it. Some people bringing in some additional detail on a couple of things. And so this week, what I will be doing for my video is testing the octopus antenna from MFJ. And then the week after that, I received this Anytone radio. This is my first Anytone to look at. They sent it to me, okay, for review. It's a 2-meter 440 dual band DMR or FM. Okay, so we'll see how it looks. Anytone has a pretty good reputation in the U.S. for being pretty good. Okay, let's see. From Rome. You ever checked out any of Professor Jim B. Call WA3FET OWA's antennas? Optimized wideband antenna. No, I have not. Why don't we take a look at it? WA3FET WA3FET antennas. Okay, I need to modify that slightly. It's bringing up a PDF document, so we'll see what it is. It's coming up in just a second. We'll give it a second to come up. Okay, innovative wideband antenna. 100-foot Arecibo dish, atmosphere heating, 6 Arecibo. Future contest setup. Yeah, that'd be nice. What's wrong with the dipole? Well, there's no balun, but yeah, I've had good luck without the balance. Inverted V. Okay, the cage antenna is popular. Double cross bazooka. Oh, there's a million different antennas here. Wow, look at all these. Okay, so look up WA3FET. There's a date and presentation on it. Let's see, I gotta move this. Okay, here is, and let me get back to the, okay, New Mexico is where they have Billy the Kid. Yeah, well, it was an interesting place. There are a lot of Native American reservations, Indian reservations, and it seems like you just go through one after the other on the way down there. The territory around Ghost Ranch, where we visited, is just stunning, absolutely stunning. Okay, this first question is from Jim Tessinier, KE4ZUN, and his question is this: Dave, when it is said that the core of a balun can become saturated and damage the balun, what has happened? Does this mean that the toroid or the winding is damaged, and if so, what does the damage consist of? I need to understand what is happening. First of all, saturation and destruction are two different things. It is a fact of life that a magnet, any old magnet, let me put up this, if you have some sort of like iron core and you wrap around it like that, you get a magnetic field that comes around like this. Okay, when the thing is on. Now if you're pumping RF through this thing, that whole field will collapse, rebuild, collapse, rebuild in phase with the current. It is possible in cores that there is a limit beyond which you cannot get it to magnetize more. Then that's called saturation. Saturation is something we don't think about a lot in amateur radio, but this core can become saturated So any additional energy put into it will cause the core to heat. Okay? If you hit saturation in a core, it's not the end of the world. You just simply stop putting energy into it, and then it will desaturate, and you're fine. You go on. Now, if you heat the core to the point where you break it, they literally physically break it, you can cause it to melt. If it's a ferrite core, it will probably shatter on you, or at least break into pieces, and so on. That is something you can't recover from. You've got to put a new core in there. So let's see if that answers the question. Yeah, the damage is heating damage. Need to understand what is happening. Ham radio type things, we don't produce huge amounts of power. It is possible to saturate a core. When you saturate a core, you top out on the number of microhenries or whatever that you get out of the coil. And then, like I said, anything beyond that is heating. All cores can saturate, but the core design in any commercially designed magnetic instrument is going to be such that you won't saturate it in normal operation. Now, there are things you can do with saturating coils. You can get some very interesting audio effects, for example, if you want to. Okay, QRP in the nutshell. I've never built a QRP rig in an actual nutshell, but I suppose that somebody has. Working a station internationally with a U.S. license, go to IARU. Let's see. IARU. Okay, so this is it's called reciprocal licensing. And go to IARU.org. This is the International Amateur Radio Union, which happens to be administered by the American Radio Relay League. But this website will tell you what the reciprocal licensing arrangements are, whether you need to get a specific license for where you're going, or how you would operate, or so on. Most places, for example, like Canada, you can just go, and you would use your call sign /VE, and then whatever district you're in Canada. Okay. Let's see. What are your thoughts on the MFJ hamstick dipole antennas? I am about to do the testing on the octopus. Did you do a review on the Anytone anyway? No, I have not. How important is the length of a sky loop? You can go multiple different ways. I would cut it for resonance for the lowest frequency at which you're going to use it, give or take a few feet. I mean, it's not that. You're going to have to use a tuner with it. Okay. Watched your videos past the extra exam for Chris Cancia. Chris, congratulations. Absolutely super. W4CEC/AE. All right. All right. Very good. Okay. I have the same key. Look at the bottom for the L. There's no L on it. It's not a Lion L. Problem hitting certain repeaters range, but not this one. It's one of the closest, and tones and shift frequencies are correct. Repeater antennas are sometimes directional. You want to make sure you're not coming in on the back side of that. You might want to contact the repeater owner and see if you can figure out. The repeaters transmit their call signs in Morse code. If you can copy that down and get that, you can actually look that up on QRZ.com and figure out who the owner is of the repeater and contact them. They're usually quite willing to help. They don't put up the repeaters to just sit there and be admired. They put them up there to be used. Vanity call sign. Vanity Reddit should be requested on the day available, not before. West Coast, FCC, East Coast, where you're going to do it by web anyway. You file FCC time. I can hit it with my HT, does not make any sense to me. Yeah, I understand. You talk to the repeater owner. Okay, operating hours only. Okay, this next question is from Joseph Ivankovich, KE8IDN. And Joe, I apologize if I murdered your your name there. Hope you're doing well. I was watching the LMR 400 coax cable and connector, number 72 video, and you mentioned plenum. The plenum is the space between the structural ceiling and a drop-down ceiling that is used for the return air of an HVAC system. That's heating, ventilation, air conditioning system. Plenum-rated wire is a special jacket which makes the cable smoke less than a regular PVC cable, and the smoke that is emitted is less toxic. Non-plenum cable, which is known as PVC cable, is very toxic in a fire. This is talking about network cables. Okay. The plenum does not protect the cable, no. Also, it's very bad installation practice to run wire in any ductwork. A duct is not a plenum. I've seen this done with cable providers on new homes, and they always get flagged by an electrical inspector or fire marshal. But always check local electrical codes. Sometimes floor joists that are covered with metal are used for return air. It is still considered a duct. Like I said, check with your local codes or the authority having jurisdiction. And this is from Joey. So this is a caution about where you run wires. I'm fortunate that where I am in my house, I have a few items in the house that are actually wired. Much of what I have in the house is wireless. It's kind of a mix. Okay. Have you ever tried to convert a 2-meter copper J-pole antenna into a beam antenna? And yeah, I mean, J-pole is just a means of feeding a half-wave 2-meter antenna. You can put directors and reflectors on that if you want. Okay, this next question is from Dennis L. Dakin Jr., KC3MAA. And he says, I just bought a Kenwood TS520S. Ooh, nice legacy radio from the 1970s. I almost bought one of those, but I bought a Yaesu instead. And was wondering if I could do something to hook it up to a computer for digital, and if how. The answer is yes, you can. There are a multitude of devices that will sit between the computer and the radio. They're made by people like Tigertronics, which has its Signal Link USB. So you connect a USB cable to it. It's actually a sound card. And then you connect the mic and speaker jacks of the TS520. Will it work? Yes. However, be careful. The TS520 is designed for single sideband, or CW. It will, if you're going to run a mode like PSK31 or FT8, you'll want to really throttle back the power, because the rig is not designed to run at 100% duty cycle. So it's a 100 watt ish rig. It's actually a little more than that. But throttle it back to about 25 watts, and then you should be fine. Now, one thing I don't know and can't say about the TS520 is the turnaround time going from transmit to receive. That's not so important for FT8 because you've got several seconds in there going back and forth between transmit and receive. But good luck. I think you can do it, yes. Okay. I'm going to see Terry Graham. Do you need to keep a log or not? If so, no, you do not need to keep a log. It is no longer, and has not been for 50 years, 40 years, not been required. And then Mark Steele points out to Terry, if you want a computer log, I recommend N3FJP. As it turns out, I use that too. Let's see if I can get it up to where I can show you. It's N3FJP makes something called the all contact log, which is your basic log, and then yeah, I know. Okay, let's see if we were to bring it up here, if it would show. Yes, it does. So let's cut to it. This is the N3FJP log. Can't quite get all of it in the space there, but it logs your stations, everything about them. It will automatically look up someone on QRZ, so you can see if there's a picture on QRZ, you can actually see a picture of who you're looking at. It will also do, let's see, that's not what I want. It will also do Logbook of the World. It'll interface with Logbook of the World automatically, so you can find out how many of your stations are in place. For example, if I look at awards, okay, states, I have 3 states left to confirm via Logbook of the World, so I can get a worked all states entirely on Logbook of the World. It's got, I have 65 countries confirmed. I have about 85 all total. I'm just a casual DXer. Okay, let's go back here. All right. This is from Rob ZS1SA. I think that is South Africa. Hi Dave, this is Rob Barham. Hi Dave, I've been enjoying your YouTube videos and would like to ask a question. I have a tri-band inverted V for 80, 40, and 20 meters constructed out of traps made from RG58 coax. Works very well for me. A friend suggests getting rid of the traps as they could present losses and installing a remote antenna tuner at the center point of the dipole. That sounds expensive. To my thinking, antenna tuners are also lossy devices. Yeah, designed to trick the transmitter into thinking it's seeing a perfect 50 ohm load. Well, it's a little bit more than that. They actually will match if there is an impedance mismatch. What are my thoughts? My thought, leave it the way you got it. It works. It's simple. It's cheap. And those traps, yes, you do lose an S unit maybe in the traps, but you could put a tuner up there, but if you put the tuner up in the air, it's there where it's vulnerable to lightning, and they're quite they're heavy to hold up in the air. So yeah, I'd just keep what you got. It works fine. Okay, this next one is from Jeremy L. Johnson, KD4 KZZ. And he said, thank you, you're doing a great job. I live in an HOA. My house is 3 stories, but I have a metal roof. Could I use a rope and insulator to install a sloper in the backyard? Yes. Yes, you can. Possibly from the 2nd story. Absolutely. I just don't know how far I need to be away from the house. My experience with looking at modeling, about 3 feet or 4 feet of rope away from the house ought to get you pretty well decoupled from the house. Run HF mobile with great success, but would like to set up a station at the house. Well, great. Give it a shot. Yeah, and I would put about 3 or 4 feet of rope between the end of the antenna and the house. I guess I could draw a picture of that. Let's go to the picture. So if you've got a house here and you want to run a sloper out to something here, or I think he had it actually going the other way, what you want to do is this piece of rope right here, it would be 3 to 4 feet, or let's say approximately 1 meter. Okay. getting used to this thing. My daughter is here visiting with us for the weekend, and she is a computer scientist, works for a company in the Denver area, and she's been showing me things I can do here with OBS Studio, so I'm enjoying it. Okay, I want to go back and take a look at some of the questions here. All right. If you want a computer log N3FJP, so when I use it's easy. It will talk directly to the radio, so it'll get frequency and stuff like that directly from the radio, and you can control the radio from it too. There's okay. Ham clubs are worthwhile to find. 170 miles. Help me get an FT101Z Delta up and running. Great. First contact Japan, which is where that Yaesu radio was made. The 101 series of radios are classics. Any advice on buried RHF antennas? No. Get it up in the air. If you have extremely stony, nasty, rocky ground, the effective ground is going to be 3 or 4 feet down, or more, maybe as much as 20 feet down, in which case you can lay out an antenna on the ground and it'll function kind of as an NVIS antenna. In the normal case where there's any soil in the ground or water in the ground, the effective ground will actually be pretty close to the surface, so you're going to need to get that HF antenna up in the air. How can I calculate the gain of my antenna? HOA is requiring a study of radiation emission before they will improve my 2-meter J-pole and my 20 to 160 meter dipole. Okay, the dipole, let's see, there's a, what is it? Somebody will note it. There is there's an RF safety calculator. It's located in the general and extra class study guides. Might be in the tech, I'm not sure. And there's a website you can go to where you can actually calculate it, what the distances are out there. It depends on the wattage you put out. 20 to 160, I don't think you're going to run into a problem at 100 watts. Maybe you will at 1,000, but not at 100. N3FJP has a boatload of contest logs. Yes, they do. And they integrate back into the all contact log. Plus, they will make the Cabrillo file that you need to send in. And they're all for one price. I think he charges about $100, and then you can use any of his software in perpetuity. You can always update. He will, of course, accept donations, which is a great thing to do. Just want to say thanks for the online courses. Went from 0 to amateur extra in 1 month. Well, I hope that AA5Q, congratulations. I hope that you will get on the air. Get on HF. We'll throw something up for VHF and then get on HF. A sloper. Okay, let's look at a sloper. Okay, sloper. A regular dipole looks like this, with the feed line coming down here. Okay, you can do an inverted V, the feed line coming down here, and the two ends coming like that. A sloper is a dipole where you've got the two ends like this. Now, in this case, the slope is this way. The most radiation goes that way. It tends to be a somewhat directional antenna. You want to get both ends up off the ground as much as you can, but if it's sloping like this, or this is the high and the low end, that your direction will go more this way. It's still a relatively unidirectional antenna, but you will get a little bit of gain in that direction. Not very much. Okay, hope that helps. Back here. B1MPT Ricardo, Brazil, Rio de Janeiro. Thank you for the best wishes. Hello from the Central Oregon coast. Oh, I love that Oregon coast. I went through there in the fall when there were berries just growing wild on the bushes. I gorged myself on the berries. There is no scenery quite comparable to the Oregon, Central Oregon. Can you plug a keyboard into an IC7300 and work TTY? I don't know. I doubt it. My Ten-Tech Jupiter has a mod that came from the company where I can plug a keyboard into the back. It has to be PS2. It can't be one of the modern USB cable keyboards. It has to be PS2 keyboard. But then you can use it to transmit CW. Now that's on the Jupiter. Okay, Athens, Alabama. Do you have to have what you call a rat tail on an HT? No. My HT is an FT2DR, so how long should it be? If you want one, make it 19 inches. Can the metal roof be used as a counterpoise? Yeah, the problem with the metal roof is you don't always have good electrical connections between the different pieces of the metal roof. Hello from San Diego. I imagine it's a little warmer down there. It is 20 degrees here and sunny. It's a very nice sunny day. We have had snow the past few days, and it is very nice today as long as you're indoors looking out. When you get a chance, I sent you a question on your website back in November asking about ferrite chokes and cores and how that can help get out RFI out of my HF. The ferrite chokes and cores are used actually as a sort of a balun, but they can be used to keep let me show you here. If you have an antenna that is balanced, say a dipole, and you connect this to coax, okay, the center conductor goes out over here. This conductor goes out over here from the braid. So you're trying to turn something that is inherently unbalanced into something that is balanced. And so you can put ferrite cores around the coax like this, and they will present a very high impedance to any radio waves that want to come down the outside of the coax. It's one of those weird things. You're looking at, the shielding like this, and remember that at RF you've got the skin effect, okay, and you've got current flowing on the inside of the shield and on the center conductor. Technically most of it's supposed to flow in the center conductor, but the outside has a skin too and can conduct electricity in this direction unless you choke it out. Now, other uses for chokes, like if you've got a speaker here connected to an amp, and you're getting RF into the amp, and this happened to me with my wife's stereo, you can put ferrite beads here near the amp to keep these things from becoming antennas and putting RF into the amp. You can also put it on the power cord in here. You can get little snap-on ferrites. It may take more than one, but that's a good way to eliminate RFI, and you can use them too on your rig in the shack. If you get RFI, you can put them on the antenna lead, you can put them on the power lead, wherever it is coming in. Okay, Dave, do I have a patreon.com account? I sure do. It is available at patreon.com/KE0OG. Okay? So if you go patreon.com/KE0OG, you can become a patron of mine. I've got quite a few people there. You can donate as little as a couple bucks a month. No, donate's the wrong word, because this is not a donation. It's support. It's taxable support to me. It's like a tip, except that you give it every month. The lowest dollar value patron I have is $1 a month. The highest is $50 a month. You can pick any number in there, and I'm very grateful for that. And there is no requirement that you do so. Okay, let's see. What kind of wood do you use for your ceiling? Looks great. Oh, that's just cedar. It's cedar siding turned with the smooth side down. Okay, it's the same kind of siding that's on the outside of the house. 40 meter, half square, 45 feet, good DX antenna, great. Hello, Augies from Wim Sluis. Any recommendations on best way to de-ice wire and beam antennas? Well, now when you get in an ice storm, it's going to collect it. If you use the antennas or just shake them a little bit, sometimes that'll break the ice off. However, if the ice is pretty thick, sometimes it'll break the wire off, so you got to be a little bit careful with that. Okay, I think there's some ferrite beads in the power cable to my router. Yes, there probably is. It's really common to see that. I think your videos are awesome. Live in eastern Nebraska. I imagine you've got snow too. Want to get into DX? What sort of homebrew antenna would you recommend to get both West Europe and East Asia no rotator? Vertical. Vertical will give you a lower angle of radiation in general. The more, if you put up, you can actually just get aluminum tubing and make yourself a quarter-wave vertical. Insulate it from the ground and then put out radials. Lots of radials. Okay, I'm looking at the wrong thing here. I really ought to have someone else operate the computer while I do this. Okay, all right. This is Victor Alpha 2 in there too. Okay, we've got 123 people watching, which is a record. Okay. By the way, I'm not advertising Soylent. It's a meal replacement. I buy this. It's an acquired taste, but it's 400 calories per bottle of a very balanced meal, including vitamins and minerals. And it's a very nice meal replacement when you don't have time for lunch or breakfast or dinner. Okay. This next one is Sinto Nielankaville. No call sign. Hello, I'm from India. Okay. Your YouTube videos are awesome and simple to understand. I just passed the exam and the application for the license is in progress. Congratulations to you, Sinto. Congratulations. I want to ask you about an antenna. I'm interested in 40 and 20 meters. I'm staying in a building and I have limitations for high-length antennas. Could you please suggest an antenna for 7 and 14? You may also want to try that vertical. You can buy multi-band verticals. I imagine in India they're extremely expensive. There are probably plans for a multi-band vertical that will do those 2 bands if you look on the internet or ask around. I understand that there's some active amateur radio clubs in India who could help you with this. If you do have 66 feet available horizontally, you can put together a 40/20 dipole that's trapped, a trapped dipole. And it actually would take less than 66 feet because the traps actually act as loading on the 40 meter portion and so will shorten that up. So you can look at antennas like that. Good source to buy ferrite beads. Try dxengineering.com. They should help dxengineering.com. And ferrite beads on Amazon, you can get them extremely cheaply there. You're not necessarily sure of exactly what you're buying. The problem is that there are a number of manufacturers of these little ferrite beads, and they don't, the manufacturers do not standardize on markings. So different ferrite beads have different amounts of permeability in their cores, and so be careful and keep them bagged and marked and so on. Okay, do you explain how NVIS antennas work? Simple explanation. Well, let's just cut over here again. If you look at, so this is 90 degrees, this is 0 and 0. So this is straight up, like that. If you put a dipole at lambda over 2 height, your radiation pattern looks something like this. Okay. Now, the lower you put the antenna, the higher the radiation pattern goes. So you end up getting a radiation pattern like this. It's more up, and you get it down to lambda over like 8, and you get a radiation pattern that looks like this, where most of it's going up. Okay, straight up. Now, if you look at the ionosphere over the Earth, and the dimensions are exaggerated here, okay, that means that your antenna is going to go up and come down pretty close to you, and even nearer. Okay, this distance from here to here is on the order of 300 miles, give or take 100, okay, depending on the frequency and so on. You need to know the critical frequency of the ionosphere. Anything that is above it in frequency will just go right on through. Okay. Now, if you want DX, you need a lower angle of radiation, so you can get it over here. But if you deliberately put the antenna down low, at about lambda over 8, you'll get this upper beam, and you can get these close-in people. And the two frequencies, well, 160, 80, and 40, and to some extent 60, I guess, in here. 80 is generally pretty good for it. In the daytime, 80 meters gets a lot of absorption. Okay, so 40 meters might work. At night, 80 meters is usually the band that you're going to use for that. Now, that's interesting because almost all amateurs 80-meter dipoles are NVIS antennas, just because you can't get it a quarter wavelength 60 feet in the air. Half a wavelength would be 120 feet. So, okay, let's switch back to here. All right. Let's see, we have 125 people. Wow, that's a record. Would putting an HF Signals BITX40 in an all-plastic box have serious downsides? No. In fact, that's how I mounted mine at first, in a plastic box. The power levels you're dealing with are pretty low. Do fractal antennas really work? There are a small group of people who claim they work really well. They do use fractal sort of techniques in cell phones and stuff. I've never actually experimented with a fractal antenna. There was a QST article on fractal antennas some years ago. You can search for that. Is there any substantial loss between a dipole and a balun when using ladder line? Not really, unless it's really long. Ladder line is the most efficient way that you can feed a dipole. What antenna has the best performance on single sideband, the Cobweb or the hex beam? Well, the hex beam is a gain antenna, and the Cobweb is not. I have both, and the Cobweb, I have a 40 meter element on the Cobweb, so I use it for that. The hex beam I only have 20 and above, though you can get it with 40. I use the hex beam on 20 meters. It's fantastic antenna. Radio Shack scanning receiver from a silent key. What would be a good antenna? Just the little whip that came with it. A length of wire, 8 or 10 feet long. Any caveats regarding a chimney mounted vertical and elevated radials? We gotta make sure the chimney is strong. They usually are. When you do elevated radials, you don't need so many radials. You can do 2 tuned radials per band. So you can get 40 meter radials, which will also double as 15 meter radials, 20 meter radials, and then whatever other band you're going to use. You only need 2 radials on each band. Shack on second floor, which is better, run radio remote from basement or run coax to second floor? Grounding is my main concern. Well, a friend of mine, Lou French, has his shack on the second floor. He runs his coax down inside the house, or I guess right outside the house, down to a ground rod where there is an antenna, a lightning protector, and then from there to the antenna, and that is what I recommend. Will station ground improve your reception? Very probably. If you're able to run that coax to the second floor, you'll be better able to control the radio than if it's remote. Yes. What do you think about slope dipole antennas for DX? It doesn't matter where you put the center wire on the high side or the low side because it's a balanced antenna. Best regards from US 7ML, Vadim. Hello. Code Masseur. What about grounding radio from second floor? Okay. Yeah, it can. It can create a resonance issue, but it doesn't normally. Okay, this next one is from Ed Prokop, KI5BLM. I really enjoy your YouTube videos. Glad your work to put them out is seen by fans of yours. A little background: grew up with his father, electrical engineer. Did his grad work in antenna design. He went all over the world to do that. NASA, S-band radar, comms, telemetry for the Gemini, Apollo Space Ventures. By the way, when they did that, there was a lot that had to be learned about propagation from a object in space to the ground. They discovered a lot about the VHF bands that they didn't know before by just working from the ground. What are the best books out there to bring me up to speed on HF, antenna design, and equipment purchases? Okay, he says he also has a 43-foot sailboat. Let us go to the desktop and bring up the arrl.org. Okay, so this is the ARRL. All right, and they have a very, very, very comprehensive website. All right, and you could spend hours just crawling through the website. Go over here to the ARRL store. Okay, and there, and look in the bookstore here. There are licensing, education, and training. There are a million books you can look at. By the way, some of these are on Kindle, and so you can get them a little less. Whoops, that is not what I wanted to do. Okay, antenna physics, the manuals and so on, scopes, getting on the air with HF digital, magic band. There are just a million books here that you can look at. Let me see if I can find. They've got some radio basics. Search store basic. Let's see what happens. It may not. I know. Okay, here we go. ARR Basic Series Bundle, Understanding Basic Electronics, Basic Antennas, and Basic Radio. You can buy them separately. Here's one on HFSSB, QRP Basics, Understanding Basic Electronics, etc., etc., etc. There's just a lot of stuff that you can get here that will help you with that. So that is where I would doggone it. There we go. Okay, this is the ARRL store. I need someone else to do the switching on this thing. The basics, bundles, and so on that are at arrl.org/shop. Okay, all the different kinds of radios here. All right, this next question comes from a patron, Peter Weston. Says, Dave, I have a question or at least an idea for another video. See a lot of kit-based amplifiers. Yeah, either Chinese or at my side of the pond, English designed and constructed. Yes, QRP Labs, QRP-labs.com. The one I'm looking at comes with the SMD already fitted and the larger stuff ready for me to install, but all of these kits do not have a coaxial relay on them and is something you have to set up for yourself. I've Googled it, and people use these relays for antenna setups, the mast top, and the base. Can we have a video on coaxial relays and why and how they work and where they work and why we need them? Okay, I'll set this one aside for a video topic. All right. On coaxial relays. What they are is you connect two coaxes in like this and another coax in the bottom, and you put in a DC signal which will cause it to switch back and forth between the antennas. Let me go back to where I have my let's see, just ordered the Amateur Extra Training book from the League. Okay, good. Great. The Amateur Extra book. Good grief. The Amateur Extra book is more difficult than the General by a quantum leap. So take your time with that. Have you used a receive-only antenna along with the transmit antenna? Yes, I have. I don't normally. I live in a very radio quiet area, so but I do have a receive-only antenna. It's an MFJ, and I use that for my SDR, my software-defined radio, my little SDR Play RSP1A, and that's a nice little radio. Okay, check out Log Loop on Ground group. Okay, someone from Bahrain. Hello, Thomas. DMR questions. I understand the concept of time slots and groups, but I don't quite get the mechanics of connecting through my new OpenSpot 2. Trying to find a book seems impossible. I did do a video on the OpenSpot. That's this right here. As I can turn it right up. This is the OpenSpot. This is the older version of the OpenSpot. You might check that out and see if that helps. If not, let me know, and I'll do another video on setting up the OpenSpot. Dave, have you tried a loop on ground antenna for receive only? No, I have not. Your channel's a huge resource for those of us just getting started. Well, thank you. That's what I'm trying to do. Okay, we've got a few minutes left here, and we're not going to finish all of the questions. We are up to December 19th, so that's pretty good. Today's the 29th, so we're 10 days behind. This is from Mike Hoffman, KE8IL, and he says, Dave, I watch the W5KUB show all the time. That's on Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock Central Time, U.S. Central Time, at W5KUB.com. If you'll go there, you can watch, and there is a chat board similar to this, but a different provider, and I appear on that from time to time. Okay, my problem is programming my Baofeng using Chirp. Baofeng actually recommends that you use Chirp for their FM radios. Watched your video on using Chirp. I had used it before, but now I have problems with it since I went up to Windows 10, latest version. Problem is when I plug in the programming into USB. Okay, so your problem here is with the cable between the radio and the computer. There's actually a chip. It doesn't look like it. It looks like it's just a little plug, but there's a chip in there that converts that to a serial. And when you plug in the programming cable, a prolific USB to serial port COM3, even before I plug the cable into the radio. That's because it's detecting the chip. Okay, and if that, you need to make sure that for your specific radio, that you go on to the Baofeng website and get the driver for that cable. The prolific chips, there's a lot of counterfeit prolific chips, so Prolific has abandoned a whole bunch of their earlier chips, which unfortunately still show up from time to time in cables. But and on Windows 10 that's a problem because they exclude them if they are counterfeit chips or the older chips. Now the Baofeng, as I recall, uses the same cable as the Kenwood. You can go to a place at PowerWorks and look for the red cable, and that is one that has a different chip in it but should still work. I use it for my Baofeng radios. We're almost out of time, or I'd show you the cable, what it looks like. Go to PowerWorks, PowerWerx.com, and look for the cable connecting. They make a red cable in there. If not, you can call them up and ask them about it. Okay, I think this will be our last one, KN4LSR. I have a tech license, process of studying for general. Good. Live in an HOA that does not allow antennas that are visible. I do have rain gutters that have 5 downspouts around the house, which is single story. Is it possible to use the rain gutters as an antenna? Yes. And if so, would I need to only connect to one of the downspouts? Also, would it be advisable to use an antenna tuner? You'll have to. I don't have a video on setting up rain gutters. However, a lot of rain gutters are made in long pieces, but then those pieces connect. And very often you get either a very poor connection or no connection at all to the next piece of rain gutter. So you're going to have to install little wires with a tinned wire, use a tinned wire, and so on between them to get them all into one great big piece of metal. And yes, you can do it. I know a guy who did it. In fact, he's currently the Colorado section manager for the ARRL. Okay, Chirp. Go to Chirp, CHIRP .danplanet, DANPLANET.com, or it might be .org. Not sure. Well, you know what? We can actually just look here. Let me cut that here and do chirp.danplanet.com. Okay, and it's going to come up with a list here. Sorry, we got this kind of over to the side. There we go. You can get Chirp. Chirp is updated sometimes daily, so always check back for the latest. And this lists all the different radios that it will manage frequencies, channels, things like that, all in there. They don't have, and this is a shame, they don't have any for the DMR radios. Now, like that Anytone right here. I'm going to have to get the right software when I go to program it. Radioddity picks up the UV5R X3, although it looks like a Baofeng radio. In fact, it might even be labeled that. It's actually a radioddity radio. But the fact is, this is sort of a nice standard piece of software that you can use to program your radios. Now, one thing to be aware of is that it's going to take a little work to figure out, so you'll be in good shape. Okay, we are on the hour, and let's just go back here. We've got 120 people listening in right now. Let's see if there's any last. Oh, the lovely lady in the background is my daughter. That was Jennifer. She's my daughter. She works in aerospace. Greetings from the Faroe Islands. Oscar Yankee 1, Delta Zulu. Boy, I'd sure like to work you. Let's see. Forgot the Q&A was live, so I have to watch the rerun. Oh well. Dave and all viewers, have a happy, good, and healthy new year. Thank you, from Lex. What would you recommend as the first CW radio? I would recommend your standard HF radio from Yaesu, Kenwood, ICOM, Elenco, Elecraft, whatever.